I want to thank all of you for coming out on a beautiful Saturday. We've got 10 days left in this election to motivate a lot of depressed Californians that have given up hope. But I'm going to be sharing with you today a message of hope that I want you to pass forward. I want you to share this because I think the left, one of the things that keeps them in power is the fact that they have convinced you that it's impossible for you to rise up and take back your government. They want you to fear them, they want you to feel powerless, but I'm here to let you know that we can take back this state if we all have faith, if we all have fight, and if we work like hell for the remainder of this campaign and then use that as a springboard for future cycles. I'm telling you right now that we do not have to just blindly accept the fate in California that we're going to have a left-wing government for the remainder of our lives. We can actually change the course of this state, and we're going to need to do that. The entire mission of Reform California is dedicated to taking back our state. And that's why we have a plan. More importantly than a plan, we've got solutions. More importantly than solutions, we've got great leaders running for office that we train, that we endorse, that we support, that can make a difference once they get into office. And then finally, absolutely, we have the actual tools that you need to make a difference in your community. The problem is that in California, we have not been invited to the fight because we don't really have two political parties. We got one political party. It is the uniparty. It is corrupt to the core. It benefits from the broken system at your expense. And it's time that we, the grassroots, create the opposition movement in this state. Whether you want to call it a political party or not, I don't believe that the politicians are going to save us. No one's going to gallop into California or San Diego County and do what's necessary. They're not going to come save us. We are going to save ourselves, and then the politicians will catch up to us towards the end of the process. But you have to understand that this can be won on a grassroots basis, and that's what the mission of Reform California is all about. We're also going to cover in this presentation the plain English voter guide so you can follow along with your ballot. And then, I can't even believe I've got to do this, but it's important that we cover this topic. We're going to walk through the mechanics of how to vote in California. Not what to vote for, that's the voter guide, but how to vote. Most democracies, you know how to vote. You got a paper ballot, you show up one day during the process, you fill it out, you turn it in, it's counted by midnight that night, and everyone knows who won, fair or square. In California, we have a corrupt voting system. It has all sorts of problems, but election integrity starts with you securing your own ballot and making sure that it actually is counted and not discarded. So we're going to walk through the process for making sure your vote counts and give you tips on how you can help other people vote if they have lost their ballot or if they're not registered. You get to be the angel of election turnout for them. You get to solve problems if they say that they don't have a ballot or they are not registered. So with that, let's get started. I want to start out with that good news I referenced at the very beginning. Why you should have hope, why you should feel a bit more confident today than perhaps in the past several years. Because there's a lot of reasons to be depressed. Hell, we live in California. That's the reason we're depressed. We see the highest cost of living. We see a crime wave. We see record homelessness in our state despite the fact that we are spending a record amount of money on homelessness. We see schools that are failing our children. 2/3 of children are failing math proficiencies. A majority are failing reading and writing. Oh, but by golly, they know their personal pronouns by the time they leave kindergarten. It's insane. All of the metrics, all of the issues, by every single measurement, California is a failed state. They have failed us. But the only measurement that they're succeeding at is taking your money and giving it to a bunch of special interests. That's the only thing that they're doing well, is they serve the special interests at our expense. So I will tell you that there are a lot of Californians that are looking to move out of the state, and there are a lot of good reasons to leave, at least on paper, but you need to stay and fight, because number one, the grass ain't greener on the other side. Because despite the fact that we are cursed by a corrupt government, a government that is letting us down on all those issues I just referenced, there are so many blessings that we have in California that you're not going to find in other states. This doesn't compare. And you know what? You shouldn't have to give up those blessings because you have a corrupt to the core government. Let's change that government. The second thing is you should stay and fight because we're actually moving the needle. It doesn't seem that way because we don't have a Republican Party that's fighting and organized, but naturally voters in California are waking up. And I've got the receipts to prove it. The latest PPIC poll, which is the Gallup poll for California, Public Policy Institute of California, they do a poll like every 6 months. And right before every election, they do a poll. And the PPIC poll showed just 3 weeks ago, 65% of Californians believe the state is on the wrong track. 65%. This is a stunning number. 58% say that Gavin Newsom's done a bad job, you think? His disapproval rating is right in line with Biden's disapproval rating nationwide. Okay, so that's how bad of a governor he is. But when you get a 65% number in California in a blue state, what it means is it's not just Republicans not happy. It's not just a supermajority of independents. It means a pretty big chunk of Democrats have woken up and they've come to the very difficult conclusion that their side has messed things up. It's like a parent saying, my baby ugly. They don't do that often. But these Democrat voters are saying, we're on the wrong track. But even better than the right track, wrong track numbers, we're seeing on issues, individual issues, that Democrats and independents actually are agreeing with us. I've been fighting tax increases for 20 years as a taxpayer watchdog in partnership with the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. Every election we start out, and John DuPaul and I look at the tax measures, and then we look at the polling, and we're like, oh, golly, boy, we've got a real big mountain to climb here. Because the first thing we need to do is go to the Republicans and let them know that something's a tax increase. If we do that, they know it's a tax increase, we get 90% of the Republicans. But that's still not enough to defeat the tax hike. So then we have to go to the independents and tell them it's a tax increase, but that gets us maybe 40%. To get to 60%, we've got to argue with some of the independents saying, yeah, it's a tax increase and it's wasted, or it's not going to be good for working families, it's going to increase cost of living. But if we do that, we can get them to 60%. We still need a third of Democrats, and we start out usually in the 20s. In the latest polling, 70% of Californians say no to the tax increases, which means we're already starting out with 2/3 to 3/4 of independents. And for the first time in 20 years, I've been doing this for 20 years, my friends, this is the first time that the Democrats, on the first question, should we have a tax increase? A plurality of Democrats say no. This is astounding. By the way, we're seeing this happen on every issue. Prop 36 on your ballot, 70% yes vote right now. So there are Democrat neighbors living next to you who agree with you that we shouldn't coddle criminals, that we should actually enforce the law. 68% of Californians consider the border in crisis. They want to end sanctuary state, and they want to end the taxpayer-funded welfare handouts at your expense to the illegal immigrants. 68%. 62% of Californians believe that if a school doesn't meet the proficiency exam threshold, that the parents of the kids in that school district should be able to be given an education voucher. The money to take their child to do homeschooling or put them in a private school or a public school or a charter school or a religious school, whatever, but that the parents should be able to give their child a good education with that voucher. We've never seen vouchers at 62%. So here's the good news, and you need to understand this, and you need to be confident about this. Because for the last 10 years, what have you heard from the liberal media of this state and Democrat politicians? They have told you that you're an extremist, They have said that you are wrong, that you are the fringe, that no one agrees with you. Keep your mouth shut, because your neighbors don't want to hear your political views because they vehemently disagree. You're a minority. Best thing for you, move out of the state. But you know what these data points just show? You're not the minority, you're not the fringe, you're not the extremist. They are. You are the supermajority. We have a common sense supermajority in the state that wants border security, they don't want tax hikes, they want to crack down on the crime, they want to fix the schools by giving parents a seat at the table and a voice in the process. You are the supermajority. Now, the challenge is people don't like the Republican label. Hell, I'm a Republican. I don't like the California Republican label because they've been basically the surrender caucus for 20 years. But what it means is on the issues, when we talk to people on what they want, they agree with us. And that means that we actually can take back the majority of this state. We can win statewide office. We can break the supermajority in the legislature. We can actually elect good people at the local level if we talk about the differences between our side and their side on the issues that they care about. That's why this is such a powerful weapon that they hate. That's why they absolutely fear the plain English voter guide, because if you notice, there's no Republican label here. I get Democrats stopping me at bonds and they say, Carl, I don't agree with all of your positions and I don't like Republicans, but I use your voter guide in every election because I like to know what I'm voting on. I'll take it. And I always say, voters are coming for the ballot measures, but they're staying for the wonderful candidates. And this is important because we want to lift all boats. We want to help the school board candidates. We want to help the city council candidates. We want to help congressional candidates, legislative candidates. If we give people the plain English voter guide on the propositions, and voters are pissed that the politicians are lying to them on the ballot props. They know it. They know that they're being confused. They know that the titles are lies. So when you go to your neighbor and say, I'm not here to talk about my political views or red wave MAGA. No. I'm just here to say, did you see the ballot? It's confusing. Well, this may help you. It's the plain English voter guide. It makes it simple, easy peasy. They will take that because you're giving them something of value. You're not preaching to them about your philosophy. You're just giving them plain English descriptions. They read it. They say, wow, I agree with the group that put this together. Yeah, and when they read the descriptions and see that they agree, it gives them more confidence to turn it over and vote for the candidates. They always tell me, because I agree with you on the ballot props, I kind of like your candidate recommendations because we seem to agree on these things. So please understand that people do agree with you, and if you quietly and very gently just give them something of value, they'll likely vote with you in this election. So when you leave today, please don't just throw this away. Take the voter guide and share it with all your friends, family, and neighbors. Making voting simple means that they're going to actually more likely turn out to vote. Now, here's my biggest frustration. The other side has money and the media. And, because the media will lie. They'll say Gavin Newsom's the greatest governor ever, and that the Democrats are wonderful, and that, there's nothing wrong in California. No one's leaving the state. Do you remember for the past 8 years they've been telling us no one's leaving the state? Meanwhile, the population numbers are dropping, except for illegal immigrants are offsetting it. That's the only way that they've been able to somewhat maintain certain population levels. But they were lying to us, and they continue to lie to us, and then they use the money. In my race right now, I'm up against $2 million in the 75th Assembly District that they're spending against me on outright lies. The latest is I don't like firefighters. I took away their death and disability benefits. No, that's a lie. I actually restored the funding for police and fire when the Democrats cut it in 2010. And, it's even better. It's even better. I authored Prop B in 2012 that voters approved by 72% that guarantees death and disability benefits for police and firefighters. This is like running an ad saying that Trump wants to tear down the border wall. Okay, seriously, this is not happening. And so we're up against 2 million in just my race, but think about that, 2 million in one race, and then extrapolate that to the entire state. They've got money, they've got the media, but you know what they don't have? And you know what will offset all of those advantages? They don't have a movement. And the reason why they've spent the last 10 years telling you that something's wrong with you, you're an extremist, you're a fringe, keep your mouth shut, leave the state if you must. The reason why they're telling you that is they are damn afraid that you're going to actually pick up a tool and actually start fighting them, because all the money in the world and all the lies from their media friends will not save them from their failure and their record of corruption. You activate as a movement, we take back our state, and you need to know that and believe it, because it's going to happen. So let's talk about how we activate. The most important thing is we got to bank our vote. And I'm going to say some things that some of you might say, well, oh my goodness, you're challenging all the things I assume. I need to challenge your assumptions, because a lot of the assumptions of Republicans and conservatives in California are wrong when it comes to voting. Everything I'm about to tell you, President Trump 100% agrees with, and we are working with the Trump team on election integrity. We have figured out how the left has screwed up the voting system, and we know that we have a two-step process for fixing it. One is we've got to deal with their bad rules, their corrupt rules for where they are today, and it's possible for us to limit and reduce their ability to win seats based on fraud. We can't eliminate it, but we can reduce it and limit it, and that's where you come in. But secondly, I'm part of that national network working with Trump's entire infrastructure, and there are a number of us in different states, but Rick Grenell and I are the point people on election integrity for President Trump in California, and that's why he asked me to author and introduce a state constitutional amendment to require voter ID in all future elections in California, and we're going to get that done. We are not going to have a fraud-free or fair election in California until we pass voter ID, and my initiative does 4 things. Number 1, requires voter ID when voting in person and when returning your mail-in ballot. You must put your last 4 digits of the license on the outside of the ballot. They do this in all 28 other states where they have voter ID. We're not getting rid of mail-in ballots, but in a moment I'll tell you what we're about to do to them to make sure that they're accurate and have integrity. But the first thing is we're going to require voter ID so your identity is verified. Second thing we're going to do is we're going to require that we do a citizenship check for anyone on the voter rolls, period. No illegal or ineligible voter should be on any voter roll. How do we do this? You are already grandfathered into that if you have a real ID. How many of you have a real ID? You know, we all spent all that time in the last 6 years getting a real ID so we can fly on airplanes. Great. Well, anyone with a real ID, you're already taken care of, but anyone without a real ID in California, if they want to vote in the next election under my constitutional amendment, all they have to do is what you and I did, very easy peasy, come in with a couple documents and you are verified. Anyone who's not verified, you're not going to be allowed to vote until you verify your citizenship. Plain and simple. That's how we do rules in this state. Third, the county will be required to go through an audit of the voter roll 90 days beforehand, and if they fail the audit for an accuracy standard, in other words, if they're not maintaining accurate voter rolls where people have moved out of the state, how many of you got an ineligible ballot at your home? A lot of them are out there. Orphan ballots, and you're calling the registrar saying, would you take the person off the list? They left the state 10 years ago, for goodness sakes. And you keep getting that damn ballot in every election? That's by design. They are intentionally doing an all-mail-in election, and they mail out using a woefully out-of-date voter list. We require that if they don't pass the audit, they can't do a mail-out process using an outdated list. You can still request a mail-in ballot in that election, but no universal mail-out, because we want to make mail-in ballots available, but only if we have an accurate, properly maintained voter list. And then fourth, we're going to require they actually check your signature. Now, many of you are going to say today, if I return my ballot and sign it, I don't remember how I signed my name. It doesn't matter, they don't check it really closely here in California. So just go ahead and do your best. But under my initiative, it will require a much more rigorous standard for your signature. Now, that's what we're going to do in 2026, but in the meantime, what we are doing with President Trump's blessing and help, we're getting conservatives hired at the Registrar of Voters Office to do the job right. It used to be that the left was doing the elections, not anymore. Now we have half those jobs, as we should, and we sit there next to the lunatic liberal and say, nope, that signature doesn't match, I object. And we are also going through election monitoring to make sure that the process is observed from the outside. So we have a program in place, but I cannot tell you, and I will not tell you, that we're going to be able to keep them from getting those ballots that they're mailing out using outdated lists and returning ballots. But the good news is this: we do not believe that they are changing election results on you. We don't believe that the software has been hacked. We don't believe a Dominion machine is doing it automatically. No, there is real fraud. But what they're doing is they're salting races with bad ballots, which means that it's not a fair fight, but Mama didn't promise you a fair fight. But if we're going to win in California, we actually have to turn out more of our supporters than they're cheating in an election. That's what we got to do. It's not fair, but it's our obligation to do it, and we can. We can do this. So I want you to tell your friends, when they come to you and say, I'm not voting in this election because the goose is cooked and they're going to just change my ballot. Say, Carl DeMaio and Mr. Trump, they disagree. Go to Carl's website. He has a whole video where he walks through the election integrity problem. And after you watch the video, you'll be convinced it's not the machine, but there is real fraud, and that's why your vote is all the more precious. And if they still say, no, I'm not voting because the goose is cooked, say, okay, look, humor me. If you're wrong, what difference does it make, okay? Return your ballot, and if you're right, they change it. But if you don't return your ballot, and it wasn't the machine all along, you just screwed us out of your vote. So please, it doesn't make a difference in the end, according to you, so just humor me and return the ballot. You gotta convince people just to get that vote in and not give up hope. They cannot just walk away from the process. The other side likes that. Let's turn out the vote. Now, what you need to vote are two things. Number one, you need a ballot. Who here did not get a ballot yet? Ma'am, it's not coming in the next 10 days. You now must get a replacement ballot. Now, the reason why I'm going to walk through what she does to get a replacement ballot is chances are when you talk to your friends, some of them will say, I lost my ballot, it didn't arrive, I was so disgusted about California and the Dominion machines, I ripped it up, it doesn't matter, right? Well, it does matter, so you and I are going to go get a new ballot. Or you might have a grandchild here who hasn't even registered to vote yet. Anyone can register up to 8 p.m. on election day, so there's no excuse. Even if the dog ate the ballot, we can get them a new one. If they're not registered, we can get them registered, and I'll show you how to fix problems in just a minute. But you need a ballot. Your ballot came in an envelope, and in that envelope was a second envelope that is yellow on one side, and then you got your ballot, which is cardstock. It's larger than legal size, and it has little ovals on it, and has erases on it. That is what the ballot looks like. You need the ballot and that yellow envelope to vote. You also are going to need this book. I'll get to the book in a minute. First thing what you do is you take out your ballot, you take the voter guide that we'll talk about in a minute, and fill in the ovals using any pen. We prefer blue and black, but you can use red, you can use green. It'll be harder for the machine to read. It might get projected and they'll have to manually look at it. But you can use any pen. Please use blue and black if you can. Don't worry about it bleeding through. It is designed, even if it bleeds through, it will not impact a vote on the other side. You have no worries about contamination. If you make a mistake, it's okay. You can either get a second ballot, a new ballot, or a replacement ballot, or just cross it out. I had a lady come up to me, she said, oh no, I voted for the wrong person. I looked at your guide and it was the other person. I said, it's okay. Just cross it out like this, put an X through the oval that you filled in, and say, don't count. She actually wrote, don't count. And that's okay. And then fill in the bubble you want for the person that's good. And then write an arrow and say, please count. Yes, count. That's all you have to do. What will happen to that ballot? when they run it through the machine, it'll get to that race and it'll go, meh. They then have two people walk over, they take the ballot out of the machine, and they must both look at what you wrote and agree that this is what this voter wanted. They then manually key it in, set the ballot aside for proof, and you have been counted. So don't worry if you make a mistake, just indicate what your intent is on the ballot. Not as bad as a hanging chad, I'm telling you that right now, but at least you've written what you would like them to do. So you filled out your ballot, now what do? You take the yellow envelope, you put the ballot in the yellow envelope and you seal it, then turn it over and you will see a white side with a red box. The red box is important. You must sign and date the red box. Sign and date. A lot of people forget to sign. Please sign inside the red box and date. As I mentioned, don't worry about what your signature was 25 years ago. They're not actually looking very carefully. Although I will say they tend to reject more Republicans than Democrats, but just do your best. I'm going to teach you in a moment how to validate that your ballot's counted. So sign and date. You will see another box on the ballot. It is in the upper right-hand side. It is a black line box. Don't worry about signing that. If you signed it, it's okay. You just harvested your own ballot. Me, myself, and I decided to vote today. You're okay. It does not invalidate. If you do take someone's ballot in the next 10 days, you will have to sign that black box and date it. They sign the red box and fill out their own ballot. You sign the black box as the person who took custody of it to return it. Okay, that's only for ballot harvesting. So once you sign the red box, put your ballot in there and seal it, then you pick up this beautiful little book. If you don't have this book, it's okay. Go to the website, trackmyballot.org. You can get to trackmyballot.org on our San Diego electionguide.org website. That trackmyballot.org site will give you what's in this book that you need. What you need in this book is the front. It contains a list of all of the places you can go to drop your ballot off manually in San Diego County. But more importantly, it contains a list of places that are staffed where you can actually solve problems. The places where you can manually drop off your ballot are drop box locations. They're not staffed, but they are secure. You put your ballot in the box, it's cleaned out every night. Today we have a drop box that Reform California manages. Our drop box is cleaned out every morning at 8 a.m. and it's given directly to the Registrar of Voters office in Kearny Mesa. So if you would like to vote today, your ballot will be returned tomorrow, and we'll tell you about why you need to vote immediately. But harvest it today here with Reform California's box, or by Tuesday night, you have to do a drop box. Mail-in voting. I am a big believer in mail-in voting for the first 2 weeks of the election because it's perfectly fine because you give the Postal Service enough time to deliver it. I no longer recommend mailing because I want to cut down on the number of days it takes to get to the registrar. Here's why. I need it at the Registrar of Voters office by Wednesday morning because I'm going to give the registrar 2 days to process it. They're doing processing in 1 day. But I'm going to give them 2 days to process your ballot. Because after 2 days, you're going to go on Friday, November 1st, and you're going to go to the website trackmyballot.org on Friday, November 1st. The whole program we run at Reform California is that we want you to vote early, but we want to get you in right in time, Tuesday, close of business this week, in order to process it by Friday morning, because you're going to go to that website. And if on Friday morning it doesn't say received and counted for your vote, you will go and fix that problem. How do you check your ballot? Go to trackmyballot.org and you put in your first name, your last name, your zip code, and your date of birth. Remember, they don't like driver's licenses in California. So you do your date of birth, first name, last name, zip code, and voila, your status will show up. And you need to have it say received and counted. If it doesn't say received and counted, then you have a problem. Now, chances are when you drop off today, tomorrow, Monday, or Tuesday, by the time Friday rolls around, you're going to get an email or a text message saying, "Congratulations, your ballot's been received." They have your email or cell phone for some of you, not all of us. And so that's why you may know ahead of time, but at the very least, check it manually. Okay, so that's how you check your ballot. Now, what if you get on Friday, it says nothing? Or it says received and rejected? If that happens, then you have a problem. How many know that under state law, all of you are entitled to 2 ballots in every election? If you're dead in California, you get 4 ballots from the Democrats. But you, a good conservative, you get only 2 ballots. You get your original ballot that you returned and they didn't count. And you get something called a provisional ballot. Ma'am, your ballot that you didn't get, you now get a second ballot. You get your ballot, the provisional ballot. So you go into a staffed polling center. So remember I said that there are locations here in the book that are drop boxes, but there's also staffed polling centers with hours. You go to the one that you find most convenient during the hours are open. You walk in and you say, I voted a week ago, it doesn't show counted on the system, I want my second ballot. And what they will say is, oh, don't worry, hon, it'll get through the system, just give it a couple more days. What you tell them is, well, I appreciate your confidence, but I have a right to my second ballot, it's my insurance policy, hand it over. They cannot deny it, they have to give you it. So you're given something called a provisional ballot. The lady here who did not get a ballot, you will be given a provisional ballot. Because what they think is you're a Democrat that is actually voting twice. So what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, maybe her ballot arrived and she's trying to snooker us. Or maybe she didn't get the ballot. So we're going to have a process whereby she gets a provisional ballot, and all of you will get a provisional ballot as well. If it doesn't count by Friday, you get a second ballot, but it's provisional. You get to vote, but it goes in a separate box. And that box is counted last. They go through all the ballots first that came back through the mailing process. After they're done with all of them, then they go one by one through provisional ballots, checking to make sure your original ballot did not count. If it did not count, your insurance policy pays off. You are counted in the process. There is a very good reason not to vote late and not to vote on election day. Let me go through the reasons. Number one, if you vote on election day or late, anytime after Tuesday, you cannot assure yourself that your vote was counted. You gotta vote by Tuesday. Secondly, if you show up on election day, you're part of our problem because you're creating a long line at the polling centers, and the Democrats have cut down on the number of polling centers in California because they know we conservatives, we like to go on election day. It's our way of, fighting the system of all these mail-in ballots. We like the idea of going in. Well, guess what? With fewer locations, it means that conservative voters have longer lines. And what I'm doing on election day, and what I hope you're doing, is you're finding that young voter who doesn't give a damn, or a conservative older voter who thinks that their vote doesn't matter. You're finding that they didn't vote, and you're, by hook or crook, you're dragging them into that polling center. If there's a long line, the chances we're going to get that vote are very low. I worry about that single mom with 2 hungry kids in her car in the backseat, pulling into the church parking lot 7:30 on election night after working a hard day, and the kids are saying, Mom, let's go home, TV's starting at 8 o'clock, and she sees a long line, she's like, all right, I'm out of here. We just lost a vote, but if we make it so she can get in and get out, then we got a vote. Please don't play into their hands by creating long lines on election day. Now, I will tell you, if you decide, or if you can't vote in person by manually through the drop boxes by Tuesday, and you want to go into a polling center, first my response to you is naughty, 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 bad. President Trump and I do not want to see you do that. But if you must, don't do it on Tuesday. Please just go in on Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. But what I want you to do is walk in with your mail-in ballot and your envelopes separated. Because the trick that they do is they see a conservative or anyone come in, and they say, oh, you have a mail-in ballot? Oh, great. Put it in the envelope, sign the red box, and put it in this bag right here. Your ballot is now treated as a provisional. It's counted last. They don't tell you that. It's counted last because they stop processing ballots on November 1st at 5 o'clock. because all of the staff go out to the field to do the staffed polling centers. So they stop processing ballots. You will be counted last. Do not fall into that trap. What you do is say, no, I don't want to, I'm not voting absentee. I'm not putting it in that bag and putting it in the envelope. I want to vote day of. So here's my envelope. You can throw it away. I got my ballot. Give me a sleeve. I want the day of box. The day of box is actually counted Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, the good old-fashioned way we used to vote, okay? So I don't want you doing this because you just put your vote in jeopardy. I want you to be received and counted by November 1st, but if you must misbehave, you should vote that way in person Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. Separate that ballot and make sure they give you a sleeve and put it in there. They may try to say, oh no, give me that ballot, use the computer. I don't like computers. I'd like to see my paper ballot in a box manually counted each night and put towards the tally. So, but please don't use that trick. Only give it to your friend if it's already too late. Tell them to do it that way. But we've got to get our conservatives voting the right way to secure the integrity of their vote counting. All right. If you have any problems, call our office. We will go to bat for you. We have legal counsel. And 99% of the time, it's never a bad intention. It's just that the poll worker doesn't quite know the sophisticated rules, and we walk them through it, and we get the issue resolved. So feel free to contact our office. We will help you. Let's go through the voter guide. You can get the voter guide online at SanDiegoElectionGuide.org. That takes you to all the San Diego County races. Second, you can share a voter guide with all of your friends statewide at ElectionGuideCalifornia.org. People know me as a San Diego presence, but we're doing this program statewide. You know, I'm up in Temecula on Monday. We're doing Riverside because we're defending the House majority there. We're in Orange County. We are going anywhere there's a target seat. So we have a voter guide for every major region of the state. That goes from top of ticket all the way down to judge and school board. It covers all the local measures and the propositions. Tell your friends to go to electionguidecalifornia.org and they can get a voter guide anywhere in the state. Here are the statewide propositions. 10 statewide propositions on the ballot. Almost every one of them has a very deceptive title. Vote no on all of them, but vote yes on 34 and 36. Pretty simple, huh? Yes on 34, yes on 36, no on everything else. You'd be perfectly well served if you did that. Proposition 2 and 4. Let's go through each of these very briefly. Prop 2 and 4 are twins. These twins are bonds. They're boondoggle bonds. They max out the state credit card for $20 billion. We will have no debt capacity after that. That won't stop the Democrats from borrowing in your name. 2 and 4, how did they come about? They actually don't do what they say they're doing. The Democrats did not balance the budget this year. Instead of cutting the spending, they decided to put it all on a credit card. And they said, let's poll the voters and ask them what they think is most popular. And then what we'll do is we'll create a bond for each of these things. And this is what they do for ballot titles. They try to figure out what you want, and then they deceive you on the ballot saying, here, this is what it is. It's not. Prop 2 says it's a school bond, because that was the #1 thing that people were polled on. It doesn't go to the classroom. There's no mandated expenditure for the classroom. So no on 2. Prop 4 says wildland, fire, and water. Those also polled real high. Oh, but it's worse. Prop 4 has language that prohibits any of the money from being spent on reservoirs. They call it a water bond, and yet you can't spend the money on reservoirs? That's what we need. They also say on wildland fire, you can't spend the money to reduce the fire load on acres of land. Oh, but you know what is mandated? Inner city disadvantaged community equity bonds, DEI. That's how they're going to give out the money. So vote no on 4. It's not water and wildfire. It is all about giving out these grants and contracts. Proposition 3. It's not even on my paper voter guide because it's like daylight savings. Remember daylight savings initiative 2 years ago? We voted to end daylight savings, but it's still here. It was a fraudulent measure. Prop 3 is a phony measure. It's gay marriage. The Supreme Court has already ruled. Let's move on and turn the damn page. You can vote yes, you can vote no, you can skip it. It won't impact a damn thing. It's one of their ways that they're trying to pull out liberal voters to show up on the election because they know Kamala Harris is really not popular. Prop 5 is very deceptively titled. Remember those polls I told you about? So they got schools for one bond, wildfire and water for the fourth bond. The fifth measure, they figured out we like infrastructure and affordable housing. So they said, Prop 5, infrastructure, affordable housing. Not a single damn sentence of Prop 5 has anything to do with infrastructure or affordable housing. Not a single sentence. Well, you know what Prop 5 really does? It amends a provision in Prop 13's framework to gut Prop 13 for local property tax hikes, lowering the threshold for approving tax hikes from 2/3 to just 55%. They're making it easier for politicians to raise your property taxes. No on 5. Oh, I love mocking the Democrats for Prop 6. You ready? Prop 6, you know what they say Prop 6 does? It ends slavery in California. The only slaveholder that's still in the state of California is Nancy Pelosi. And her slaves are taxpayers. We're the slaves. Prop 6 is so far left crazy. In America, we have prisons, and part of the way we run our prisons, it's both for rehabilitating people, but also keeping costs down, is we tell the prisoners, you're gonna help pitch in and do some work. You're gonna keep the landscaping, you're gonna do the laundry, you're gonna serve the food, you're gonna mop the floor, hell, you're even gonna clean your own damn toilet. Prop 6 says that the prison wardens are no longer allowed to tell prisoners to do work to earn their keep. We actually pay them a little bit of money. We do give them a little bit of money to spend at the canteen. No, Prop 6 says they don't have to work if they don't want to. And if they do want to work, you have to let them form a union, bargain for salary hikes. Oh, here's the kicker. They can now, under Prop 6, file unfair labor complaints against prison staff. I've been sexually harassed. Oh, God. Oh, no on 6. No on 6. It's just embarrassing. Okay, the ballot props then jump up to 32. You are not missing anything on the ballot. It's just the Secretary of State. She went to a public school. She doesn't know how to count. So she went from 6 to 32. Prop 32 and 33 are really bad inflation spikes. Prop 32 is a minimum wage increase. We know exactly what these minimum wage increases do. They destroy jobs for kids. They destroy jobs for entry-level positions because they're now automating through technology all those jobs. And they raise our prices. Remember the $5 footlong at Subway? We don't have a $5 footlong in California. It's $8.72. So no on 32. 33 is rent control. You may think rent control might be needed because housing prices. You want to see housing prices go up? You go to the cities that have the toughest rent control. San Francisco, Los Angeles, highest rents you're gonna ever find. Why? No landlord wants to continue to own apartments, so they do condo conversions. They just leave the market. You want to see slumlords? Go get rent control, because the landlord no longer has the money to maintain the property. And Prop 33 also contains provisions to make it harder for a landlord to evict someone who doesn't pay rent, which means who pays rent for the person who doesn't pay the rent down the hall? Good tenants are ending up paying that rent. So no on 33. 34 is a rare good one. It closes a loophole that left-wing Democrat groups are using to get government contracts in California. And then they skim money off the top of the contracts and put it into politics. Yes on 34 closes the loophole that your tax dollars would go to fund left-wing groups. Okay, Prop 35, another deceptive one. They know what we want. It says provides funding for Medi-Cal healthcare services. Everyone loves Medi-Cal. Everyone loves healthcare services. You know what Prop 35 is? It's a health insurance tax on your health insurance. Makes things more costly. No on 35. By the way, if they really wanted to lower our cost of healthcare, they would secure the damn border and stop having illegals using our emergency rooms. On my podcast this week, and the media doesn't want to cover this story. Do you know how many people have fallen from the border wall so far this fiscal year? 994. I pulled the stats on what the average cost for a 911 response with an ambulance and what it would cost for someone who fell off of a structure for an ER visit. You ready for this? About $16,000. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in being impacted on our healthcare system here in San Diego County alone. Because I'll tell you right now, I talk to people in Campo, Lacumba, right outside Alpine. The camps are using our 911 system, diverting the ambulances, diverting the responders. So if you have a heart attack, your 911 response time takes longer. And I guarantee you, when you go to use health insurance, your premiums are going to be higher, your costs are higher because you're paying for people who don't pay the bill. That's how the hospitals have to recover the cost. They take the cost of everything and they just simply bill across the people who actually have the means to pay. You are paying for Biden's open border. You want to talk about health insurance being more affordable? Secure the border, and you're probably going to see healthcare costs in San Diego drop by 20%. 20%. Okay, Prop 36 is another rare good one. Make crime illegal again. It gives police and prosecutors back the right to arrest criminals for the smash and grabs, fentanyl drug dealers. This is so important not only for crime, but also if we get this back in place, the power to enforce the law, this also is helpful for dealing with homelessness. Because the most important way you can get someone off the street is to mandate alcohol and mental health treatment and substance abuse programs. The only way other states do that and break the cycle of their psychoses is they arrest them and they get them on a crime. And they say, well, we're not going to send you to prison. We know why you're acting out. We're going to have a mandated diversion program and we're going to get to the root cause. And that's the way you save lives. Law and order must take up where love has failed to convince people to get off the drug or to get their mental health issues addressed. 36 is a win-win-win for all of us. Those are the state propositions. Local propositions. You are going to have at least one, if not 3 or 4 tax hikes hidden on your ballot. So in Lakeside, for example, the only one tax hike, you're lucky, you only have one, is Measure G. G for grift, greedy grifters. G is the sales tax increase, 0.5%. Never say 0.5%. It's 0.5%. I'll tell you right now, when someone says, I have a 0.5 cent sales tax on a car, you think, oh, a penny. No, when you say you have 0.5%, that car becomes pretty expensive. I'm old enough to remember a 5% sales tax in California. How many of you remember a 5% sales tax? Wasn't it nice in those days where 5% of the transaction went to government for their rate? If Measure G passes and some of these other sales taxes, where in the hell is Bill Wells hiding right now? He put a 1% sales tax on the ballot. We have a San Marcos sales tax, 1%. Escondido sales tax, 1%. If those tax measures pass, we're going to have a 10% sales tax in some of these cities. We'll at least have an 8.5% to 9% sales tax. That's on every transaction. A $50,000 car, you're going to be paying $5,000 in sales tax. You were charged $2,500 more for that car than you were when you had a 5% sales tax. We got to start getting Republicans using numbers that people can understand. You got gouged $2,500 on that transaction because these politicians want to raise the sales tax. So no on G. They do not. They say it's for the roads. I remember when they said they were going to put 2 extra lanes on 67. They canceled those lanes 2 years ago, but they said, oh, but good news. We're not going to put any more lanes on the 67, but the good news is we're going to put bike lanes on the 67. I guarantee you, Nora Vargas, she's never been on a bicycle, okay? It's not even a motorcycle. She doesn't even ride transit, but she expects us to do the transit. No on G, it doesn't fix the roads, and it's a major increase on inflation. All right, then you get to candidate races. The real ones out here are some of the school board races, like the Grossmont, Cuyamaca. We've got Leah Quinn. We are Lee Quinn, we are very, very strongly supporting her. Her opponent is a socialist who wants critical race theory taught. Rosemont Union High School District, Scott Eckert and Randall Deere. Those are the key school board races. If it says no endorsement or you are doomed, okay? The no endorsement means we have a problem with the candidates. You are doomed means buckle up, baby. There are two left-wing lunatics that you're about to get. And so my recommendation to you is if it says no endorsement or you are doomed, just skip that ballot. It won't affect your vote at all. But the reason why I say skip the ballot on those is the you are doomed means you're voting for a socialist. The no endorsement means you may be voting for a really bad Republican. And what we need to do as conservatives, and this is why we don't have two parties in this state. You got the Democrat Party that stands on principle and literally fails and hurts us with their crazy ideas. And you have the Republican Party that doesn't stand on principle and hurts us. Both of these parties hurt us in the end. One doesn't stand on principle and surrenders, and the other actually follows through on their crazy ideas. We have to tell Republicans, you betray us, don't expect us to vote for you. We are not going to be a cheap date anymore in California. You cannot take us for granted. If you're going to be a Republican, because we don't have a whole lot of Republicans in office, but if you're going to hold one of those few seats, by golly, you're going to be a fighter. Liken it to this. Right now, when Republicans rarely get elected, they go to City Hall with all those Democrats. Joel Anderson went to the county surrounded by Democrats, and he was conditioned in Sacramento to do what the Democrats wanted. So he has like the cartoon. Remember the cartoon where the devil pops on the shoulder? It says, do it, do it. Raise their taxes, give the illegal immigrants money. Well, we need an angel on the other side. You are the angel. When you see those politicians and you find out they voted for a tax increase, or like Joel, the reason why we didn't endorse him is because he voted for $6 million to go to illegal immigrants for welfare navigators. I said, excuse me, my veterans have to wait in line, for 9 months to get approvals. You're giving illegal immigrants their own navigator to work the system to get welfare? No. $6 million, give it to our vets. Close the border, and there, the problem solved. You don't need people to get the welfare at that point. But you are the angel when you walk up to a politician that did something wrong and you say, I know what you did last summer, I know what you did, and I'm not going to vote for you this time. Now, if you clean up your act, I'll always forgive you next time. But you gotta start fighting. But this time, you lost the vote. Next time, prove it. Prove that you learned your lesson, and I'll vote for you. Look, if we don't do this, the devil will always win. The lobbyists, the left-wing advocates, they will always chirp in their ear, and our Republicans will be swayed. We gotta make sure they stand and fight. In the 75th, here's my request to you. I would like to be your fighter. I would like to go to Sacramento and put my boot up their ass. I'm not promising you that we're going to win votes right out of the gate. But here's what I do promise you. Right now, you don't have a voice. You don't hear your voice in the process. I promise you, you will hear your voice loud and clear. And I tell you, if you want to start turning the tide, all it takes is a few principled, fearless, committed leaders to stand up and speak truth to power. And yes, they are going to get overwhelmingly rebuked. But if enough good people stand up and start saying, this is wrong and there's a better way, I will tell you that other people will stand and fight, and soon you will start seeing votes come our direction. Plus, Reform California, we are the organization that last broke the Democrat supermajority in Sacramento by doing a recall in 2017 and breaking their supermajority for 9 months. And we are going to do it again. We are going to break the supermajority, and it's going to happen within the next 2 years. That is our mission, and that is what we are going to accomplish. And they know it. That's why they don't want us. But they're lying in this race, and so I need you to be my truth bombs. Just like you're going to be an angel to push Republicans to have a spine, I need you to be my truth teller in your neighborhood. When those nasty texts or emails or Facebook ads are being run in the next 10 days, go to your neighbors and say, don't believe this nonsense. Sacramento Swamp doesn't want them. That's all the more reason we should love them and put them in that office. I need you to tell the truth for me, and we can accomplish what they don't think we can do in this election. So please do that. Last thing is, and it's so important that we think through this in the next 10 days. If you can volunteer or contribute, we are going to leave it all on the field, all the way to Tuesday at 8 p.m. Every morning I sit down with the treasurer, I say, how much did you raise in the last 24 hours? And then we spend whatever we have. We go right down to a zero balance by the end of the day on emails, text messages, canvassers who are hired from high schools and colleges. We need contributions today. Buy those tickets before we do the raffle, or just slip a contribution into the bin back there. Also, we still need volunteers. We have how many 10,000 postcards left to do? We're going after middle of the road independents with these in the last few days of the election. But we have to drop them in the mail by Wednesday. So Trinity right there, our beautiful Trinity.
Great Trinity, raise your hand right in the middle there.
She's
our volunteer
She's got
coordinator.
postcards. All I need you to do is about 100 postcards in the next 48 hours, 72 hours, and then return them to us. We will have someone come pick them up if you can't make it to our office. We need the postcards done and in the mail no later than 5 p.m. on Wednesday. Please do the postcards, and we will help you do that. And then finally, I will give you a list of voters in your neighborhood. On your cell phone, I will give you a list, not of liberals, because I don't want you to go to their door and get beat up. I will have you skip the perfect Trump voters, because I know they're voting. I will have you go after low propensity Republicans and independents and conservative Democrats that our data shows are likely to vote for us and vote for our initiatives and our whole team of endorsed candidates. So please, if you can volunteer, we have a sign-up sheet in the back for that. With that, questions, comments, anything? Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, so I have a comment and a question.
Microphone. Everybody
Okay, question and a comment. So the comment is, number one, voting in person has started today at Lakeside, at the Lakeside
Community Center. Yep.
Right, from 8 to 5. So if you want to go vote, go to the Lakeside Community Center. Secondly, is you haven't mentioned, so you're running against a fellow Republican, Andrew Hayes. And how do you feel that you're different from him?
I appreciate the question. Andrew Hayes is a tenured government staff member. He's worked for politicians in Sacramento. And when you meet him, he's a nice young guy. But here's the thing. Too many of our Republicans are career nice guys. They're nice guys. And that means that they go along to get along. And I'll tell you right now, if you saw the mailer he sent out with his campaign money, it went to Democrats, and he's proud of the fact that Democrats have endorsed him and are funding him. Lorena Gonzalez, Nathan Fletcher, Todd Gloria, Scott Peters. These are the people he proudly lists on a campaign flyer he paid for. Look, I don't go to an audience and tell you a different story based upon what you want to hear. I go to audiences, even if I lose your vote, I will tell you the truth as long as the day is here. I will say, this is my position, because it comes from right here. People say, well, they got trackers and tape recording you. What I say on radio for 10 years ain't gonna change. I am who I am, win, lose, or draw. I'd rather tell you the truth and have you not vote for me than to lie to you like these swamp monsters and then go up and stab you in the back. That is what's wrong with politics. And so in this election, I'm proud of the fact that President Trump's team, Rick Grinnell, Rodney Scott is Border Patrol Chief, who, by the way, he was San Diego Sector Border Patrol for 7 years, and that's why Trump selected him to be Border Patrol Chief, and that's why Biden fired him on day one. But Rodney Scott and I have a plan to secure the border and clean up these migrant camps in San Diego County. We have a direct line now to the Border Patrol Chief when I'm elected. We'll have a full-time Border Patrol staff director in my office. I'm going to be the first state legislator with a Border Patrol point person in my office to deal with those issues. We're going to have, with Rick Grinnell, a project, because I think he's going to be the next Secretary of State, God willing. We're going to have a project to force Mexico to stop dumping its sewage on our beaches and bays. We're sick of it. And so the folks who are up against us are the people who hate Trump, who are suing Trump. These are the people who are raising your taxes. They're all supporting my opponent because they don't like Republicans, but if they have to have a Republican in a seat, they like the typical Republican who has no spine and sells out for a really cheap price. We cannot have that. We cannot have that. That has led us down this path of irrelevancy and a supermajority. You should take it as a compliment and confirmation of your vote that if they're spending $2 million against Carl DeMaio, there's something he must be doing right to piss him off. And that's a good day. Other questions? Yes.
I'm so glad that I came to this event today and met you. You're a breath of fresh air.
Thank you.
And I agree with many, many things that you said. And I'm really thankful for the voting guide because one of the things I almost voted wrong on because, like we said, it's misleading. My name is Jeannie Swearingen, and I'm running for the Lakeside.
And I've endorsed you. You gotta vote for her.
And he's right about rising up and taking that step. But what makes me better than my opponent, like he said, tell the truth. I worked for the district for 23 years. I know how it works. My opponent has ran once. 4 years ago, he ran unopposed. So he's only done one race. He has spent less than 96 hours working for the district. I have more than 48,000 hours working for the district. I'm the better opponent. Did you know they want to, on their CIP, they want to build a whole new building to use once a month with bathrooms and a kitchen.
That's why we endorse you, but we have a question.
Please. My question is thank you so much for
all right, that's good.
Thank you for your.
We also have Sandra Deacons. Stand up, Sandra, and wave. Sandra has our endorsement for Lakeside Fire District. Please vote for her as well. All right, we have a question in the back. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. What's the question?
Is that ballot any good? Is that?
What's wrong with it?
She said it looks like it was marred and open when it came.
Okay, is it your ballot, ma'am? Is that your ballot?
Yeah.
So the question, Carl, is because it was already sealed when it came together, can she reseal
You're perfectly
it?
fine. Just reseal the
Yeah, just
envelope
reseal
and
it.
put your ballot in there. Did someone fill out your ballot for you?
No, I can.
All right, then it's perfectly fine. Just make sure you sign the red box. Other questions?
Right here? Right here.
Hey, on Newsmax this morning, there was a report about the Virginia voter rolls.
Yes.
Yes, 1,600 guaranteed illegal aliens admitted that they are not citizens of the United States.
But the media says nothing is happening.
Oh, wait.
No, nothing's happening.
Even better, did you hear that the lawyer, they said that no, they have to put them back on the voter
Right,
rolls.
so your question, real quick.
The question is, what do you feel about that?
Well, it's not right, and that's why Trump and the Virginia Attorney General, they're working together to challenge that. Let me just tell you this. President Trump was let down by Republican political consultants in the last election who didn't do their job. And this time, President Trump is demanding that the Republican establishment do its damn job, and they are, because he's got his foot right over their head, saying, you make sure this election isn't stolen, and they have the most sophisticated legal team. Now, the other side, they are vicious. They are dirty. So it's going to be hard to stop them from doing all the bad things, but I want you to understand this. President Trump is going all in and watching every single thing they're doing, and no stone is being left unturned. When they do something wrong, they file a lawsuit literally in milliseconds. So please, don't assume that this election is just baked or cooked. They're going to do dirty stuff. Do two things. Vote, vote, vote. Get your friends to vote and pray for the safety of President Trump, because that's how dangerous and how desperate these people are. That's what we now have to worry about. Yes, sir.
So very off pressure type of question, but at the rodeo you rock it, you asked, or you answered all of our questions when we came up to you at the booth. My question is, how is your relationship with Donald? Is he cool to you? Like, do you guys like each other?
President Trump, so
That's about it. Because you're rocking it. So I just want to know about that.
So, look, I've always been a supporter of Trump. Back in 2015, when I was on the radio, I was covering, because my job is to kind of give people an assessment of what's going on, the pros and the cons. I like to throw the ball right across the plate. But the moment I became a Trump supporter was July of 2015. And I know and I covered it on the show. It was when Megyn Kelly, who's a friend of mine, who by the way has become full tilt pro-Trump, okay? Which many people have. Donald Trump stood on stage and he said, "Only Rosie O'Donnell." Remember that one? And I was like, anyone with the balls to do that's got my support. Because that means he doesn't give a rip what people think. He's just gonna tell it like it is. And let me tell you what happened. On one issue, which is my most important issue, which is border security. People think it's stopping tax hikes. But the border is so much bigger than just financial. It's so much more of a threat. Donald Trump is the first politician from either party to do what he promised to do on the border. Democrats actually lie. They say they're for border security, but we know they're lying and they're going to have an open border. But Republican politicians like Bush and Romney, they lied. Ryan and Boehner, they lied to us by saying they were going to secure the border, and they always go with the big corporations who want cheap labor with an open border. They take the campaign cash from those big corporations and leave us with an open border. Trump is the only guy, and this is why they hate him so much, who went in there and said, "I said I was going to do it, and I'm going to get it done." And he did secure the border. He got it done. And if he gets reelected, and I believe he will be able to do the federal policy changes, but this is why Team Trump is interested in California. When he tried securing the border in his last term, what happened? The lawsuits were filed by California politicians. Newsom, Bonta, Becerra. They filed the lawsuits to stop the border wall, to stop remaining Mexico, to lie about child separation. They filed the lawsuits with your taxpayer money. Who has a sanctuary state? It ain't Texas. It ain't Arizona, even with a Democrat governor. It is the blue state of California that is a sanctuary state. Who's giving out free healthcare, free housing, free welfare? And who's giving navigators, Joel Anderson? California Democrats and Republicans are doing this crap. And so Trump's team knows, and this is why Rodney Scott and I are working already together. If we're going to secure the border, it's going to take President Trump changing the federal policy, and it's going to take you and I having his back on state and local policy in California and not making it easy for Newsom to do what he's doing on the border. And we've got a plan to do that, and that's why I think that there is a lot of excitement for what we're doing here across the country. So Rick Grinnell came out very strongly endorsing it, and he and I talk every day. He's running President Trump's get out the vote operations in Michigan, Arizona, Georgia, and Wisconsin. And he believes we're going to win all 4 of those states. He believes we're going to get 312 electoral votes for President Trump, which is more than he needs to become president next Tuesday.
We're going to do 2 more questions, and he's going to do one-on-ones because we've got to break down and get to Ballot Center for our next one.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Hi, my name is Lisa, and I just wanted to know why can't we charge a toll charge at the Mexican border to fix our sewer issue?
Oh, I have a better idea. You want to fix the sewer issue?
Yeah.
Here's what's going on with sewage, and I kind of borrowed President Trump's construct here. I said to deal with the Mexican sewage, we're going to build a toilet bowl. We're going to make Mexico pay for it, and in order to get the money, we're going to close the border every day that any of their sewage closes even 1 inch of one of our beaches. And I'm telling you right now, the reason why this has been a 40-year problem, remember Brian Bilbray and the little tractor that he had, and he pushed the earth up against the Tijuana River estuary? The reason why they don't fix their sewage system, and it would take $1 billion to fix, but again, we've just spent $4 billion over 20 years on our sewage system in San Diego, and they raised your rates to do it. The reason why the Mexican government doesn't do it is they know the water flows north. If the water went down to Rosarito, they would clean up their crap in a second. But they know the gringos get to deal with the problem, not their people, and so they say, well, what are we gonna do? Well, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna actually stop the sewage, and if you don't do it yourself, we will build that sewer treatment plant. We'll put the money up, because we don't want our sewage, your sewage on our beaches, but we are gonna force you to pay for it, and if you don't, we're gonna close the border. I guarantee you, if you light a fire, they will come to the table. And that's what President Trump did on Remain in Mexico, and that's what we have to do on the Tijuana sewage. One last question.
Yeah, two-part. Who put 33 on the ballot, and why is our illustrious governor voting no against it?
He is voting, I don't know what Newsom is voting on. By the way, Kamala can't come out and tell us what she's gonna vote on either. But 33, which is rent control, is that your question, rent control? Was put on by a left-wing group. The reason why 34 is on the ballot is this guy Michael Weinstein from the AIDS Foundation. By the way, they don't do anything for AIDS patients. They're nothing but a left-wing political advocacy group. They sue landlords. They're all about rent control. They have put 3 statewide ballot measures on the ballot with your taxpayer money in the last 3 cycles. And you, the voter, have voted 60% against their lunatic ideas. Prop 34 will end his ability to do that. Prop 33, we got to vote down for the 3rd and final time. And Newsom is out there. Newsom is against Prop 36. He's for the criminals robbing you. He's for fentanyl drug dealers dealing drugs to kids. The leading cause of death today for kids 18 and younger, a fentanyl drug overdose. This is a guy who literally is okay with that happening, but he wanted your kids to have to stay home from school because he was worried about their health. No, you don't care about kids' health. If you did, you'd secure the damn border and stop fentanyl drug dealers from eating your kids. And by the way, we've got to have Republicans who are quick on their feet to explain issues succinctly and clearly to the voters, because I'll end where we began. All of us feel battered in this state. If you're a taxpayer, you're battered. If you're a business owner, you're battered. If you're a conservative, and if you're a member of a church, you're battered. We are battered in this state by the bad policies, but we're battered in this state by a corrupt political system that tells us to just shut up and give up. And a lot of times, the shut up and give up are Republican elected officials. But I have to tell you, you need not accept this crap any longer. You can rise up. The only thing that we've been waiting for is a plan, an agenda, the candidates to get behind, and yes, tools. This postcard is a tool, the door hanger is a tool, the voter guide's a tool, the cell phone with the list of voters in your neighborhood is a tool. Shame on the Republican Party of California for not giving you the tools to fight, because I know you are hungry to fight. You want your state back. If we just give you the tools, I believe you will do whatever you possibly can, because I know you love your state. What is at stake? Yes, it's our country. But what's at stake is something we lost about 20 years ago. 25 to 35 years ago, when you would travel the country, people would ask you, where are you from? And think back in your memory. You would say, 35 years ago, you would say, California. And you would do it that way. You would take the big breath. You would pump up your chest. You'd be so proud. And they would say, ooh. Remember that? It happened, right? Hey, okay, come on. Am I joking? No. The young ones here, the young people here, you're young. You're young. The young ones here, they don't know how good California used to be. They don't know the California that we long for because we experienced it. The safest California with UC system, great schools with a tuition discount. We used to have a thriving economy, well-maintained roads. Now we've got crap. And it is such a depressing situation because we know how good it could be. I'm here to tell you, you can have it back. You can have it back, and more importantly, we have an obligation to give that back to our kids and grandkids. We have an obligation to give that great, wonderful golden state back to our kids and grandkids, so please, we got 10 days to do it, we have 10 days to turn the tide, show people that we can win, show people we can elect good water board and school board candidates, fire district candidates. Take the voter guide, spread it like wildfire. Let's win Tuesday, November 5th. And we are going to celebrate not only a new president with Donald J. Trump, we're going to celebrate the turning of the tide in California. Thank you so much. And I have the tickets that we get to